Hey guys, I want to share a story with y'all about me and my brother-in-law many years ago trapping alligators. This happened, I'd say, about 20 years ago. We had a state park here that was overpopulated with alligators, big alligators. I mean, some were small, but most of them were large alligators. And it was like a lottery that several people wanted to have these tags, these state tags. It was the only way you can kill these gators is to have the tag. So when they had the lottery, my brother-in-law and I, um, we applied for them. Now it took a couple of months before they gave us the answer who won the lottery, which was me and my brother-in-law. So they were issued us 22 tags. Now before we could use the tags, before they stamped them, we had to take a 2-day class on the correct way to get these gators out of the lake, and it was 22 tags. Now probably they probably could have given us another 200 tags, and it still wouldn't have been enough. But that they started with 22 of them, 22 tags. So once we did the class, we had to get the boat ready. We had to make sure that the motor ran fine. We had all our supplies that we needed, equipment, and I'm gonna go over what that was. It's pretty interesting, and I'll never forget it. I mean, it was an amazing venture that lasted 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks, no more than 2 weeks, exactly 14 days to get these 22 gators. If we didn't get the 22 gators, let's say we had 18, well, that's all we had. They wouldn't extend any time. I'll never forget the first day, the very first day that we were going to get the gators. There was so much excitement, but there was fear. We could just going into this lake of very dark water. The water was very dark, so you couldn't see anything below. So I remember after we loaded everything up, I was in the front of the boat. My brother-in-law was driving the boat, and it's just making daylight. And we had set what we call lines, traps, basically traps, but we call them lines. We set up about 10 or 12 of them throughout different parts of the lake, which the authorities gave us an idea where it would be best to set them. So as we're traveling, my heartbeat just started raising higher and higher and higher, like I can't wait until we get the first one. It was that bad. So when we come around this cove, we call it. We had a lot of trees in this cove. When we come around it, there was our first line. Okay, so let's go over what we're talking about, how we set it up. So basically, the way we had to set up a line was we used a very strong nylon rope, but very small but very strong, made up of nylon. We had an 8-inch hook that was tied at the end of it, and we used chicken breast. They love chicken breast. So the way you have to do it is you roll up a lot of the string, and you find a good solid branch, and you take this nylon rope, and you take a piece of sewing, some thread that you use to sew material, and you take the thread, and you tie that nylon rope around the branch, and you let the hook and the bait stick out of the water at least 2 foot. The reason you had to keep it out of the water was to keep the turtles from taking the bait. Which what would happen was, if a turtle came it would the whole the string would come down. In other words, it would break the thread and the string would fall in the water. So what we did was we'd keep it 2 foot out of the water. So when a gator came, the gator had to come out of the water and grab the bait and bring it down and actually swallow the hook. Okay, so now that I've explained on how to set the hook and what we used, so we're getting back to traveling in a boat to get to the first trap. When we get into this cove, like I said, we came around these trees, and it had a small piece of land. So we came around the land, and I'm looking for my string. It was white. So I'm looking up. I'm not thinking to look down at all. I'm just looking up. Well, I don't see the bait sticking out of the water, and immediately I see the string going like 3 foot one way and 3 foot the other way, and just kind of going in a circle. And that's when my heart really started pounding, because I knew it had to be a gator. There was nothing else in that lake that could have taken the hook down with the bait 2 foot off the water. So I looked back at my brother-in-law, and I gave him the thumbs up, and I said, well, this is it, you know. So my job, I think I had the most dangerous job. He says he had the dangerous job, but I think I did. Was when we pulled up next to the string, it was my job, once you turn the motor off, my job was to grab the string and gently pull the gator up, because what had happened was the gator swallows the hook and it's stuck in his gut. So if you pull gently, they won't fight you. It's not like, sometimes you'll see on television, the alligator's going mad and he's trying to flip the boat, but that's not the case if you do it correctly. When you pull up, they'll come up very easily without a fight, because it causes pain, of course. So my brother-in-law, he had the gun. It was a 14 gauge. It had to have been a 14 gauge single shot with a slug. Couldn't have been no buckshot or anything like that. It was one slug. So he's right behind me, and I start pulling up. And when I pull up, when the gator came up to surface, this gator, the first one, was 8 foot long. Well, I let the rope go, and the gator went back down to the bottom of the lake, which was only about 9 to 10 foot. Pretty shallow for such big gators. And my brother-in-law's in the back of it, and he's hysterical. He's laughing. He's like, man, what you doing? This is not how they trained us. I said, yeah, but there's a gator here right below us, So anyway, I pulled up again, and when the gator came up, the whole gator came up, like all the way up to the surface. And once the shot was made by my brother-in-law, it was my job to grab the belly, put my arm around the belly. He put the gun down, and you just roll the gator in the boat. It's like, well, that's it's a lot of weight, right? But you have the water, and you have the boat tilting to where it's not as hard as you may think. You just roll them in the boat. So once the first gator was shot and we had it in the boat, you start feeling better. You're not as scared. You know what it's all about. So okay, we have 21 more tags to go. And in the back of my mind, I just kept saying, we're doing the right thing. This is, for the campers, the boaters. They had actually people that would actually swim in this lake. I would never swim in a lake with this much gators, but actually some people did. A lot of teenagers, they would get in the boat, go in the middle of the lake, jump out. So I just, in the back of my mind, said, okay, I'm doing this for them, It's not like we're just going out there and killing the gator. I had to get past that part. We're going into their waters and we're killing them, but you have to get past that. Someone has to do this job. That's how important it is. So like I said, once the first one was done and it was in the boat, I actually just come down and I just started enjoying the new venture. Now we had two mishaps that I want to share with you guys, and both of them were actually funny. One was scary and funny, but one was just funny. And one of them was, I think it was like the second or third day. We were traveling, and you travel real slow. You don't want to make too many waves, and you want the waters to be as calm as possible. Now keep in mind the lake was closed. They made sure no one was in that lake but us two. So we traveling, and we in shallow water. We probably in about only 2 foot of water. We were right close to the bank, and we're just talking and chatting on, and waiting to get to the next line. And all of a sudden, I hear this noise in the back of the boat, but I didn't know what it was. I heard a noise, but by the time I turned around, the first thing I noticed was there's no motor in the boat. The motor was gone, okay? So we just, as expensive as that mishap was, we just started laughing. We couldn't control ourselves. There was apparently a stump underneath the water that the propeller port, caught and yanked the motor off. It was the motor would hang over the back of the boat, and you would tighten it down. It ripped the gas hoses off, the motor off. You could see oil on the top of the water. You know how water and oil doesn't mix? So we see all this oil on top of the water, and a half hour later we're still laughing. Okay, now, but then reality hit, like, okay, so now what? We're the only one in the lake. We were way back in the lake. And we didn't have cell phones or anything on us. I don't even think they had cell phones. I think they had the bag phones. So, after another hour goes by, thinking, no one's going to come get us. Well, my brother-in-law was saying, well, man, I got to get this motor. It was his dad's boat and motor that his dad allowed us to use. So I said, well, what you thinking about? And he says, well, one of us has to go down and get the rope. They had this big blue rope, not the rope that we were using to catch the gators, but like an anchor rope. He says one of us will go down with the rope tied around. There's a handle behind the motor where you can lift up the motor. I said, well, I'm not going down there. Now we didn't have a gator in the boat with us, which was good. I said, I'm not going down in the water. I said, it's your dad's motor, your dad's boat. You're going to have to go down there. And I said, I'll support you as much as I can from up here, but I ain't going down there. So he said, okay, you're right. So he takes the rope and he goes down, and luckily it wasn't that deep, but he could only stay underwater so long, and he was trying to find this handle to pass the rope through and come up and hand it to me. So he came up and he was empty-handed. But the second try, he did it. He grabbed it, jumps back in the boat, and we start pulling. We pulled the motor in the boat. Now, we couldn't get it started, but we got the motor. And we were like, we had to paddle all the way back to the landing, to the dock, which took us probably an hour and 15 minutes, I guess. And we only had one paddle. That was the thing. So we had to keep switching sides. The whole thing was hysterical. So we get back there and brought the motor in, had it repaired, put it back on the boat, and that kind of thing. And well, the next mishap happened probably 10 days into the 14 days of getting the gators. And we had a 10-foot gator that we had just shot. We had him in the boat. And what you have to do, you have to take the state tag, and you have to put the state tag like in the mouth. Just close the mouth, and then you take some duct tape and you tape the mouth, because they don't have any strength to open their mouth. Now they have a lot of, per square inch, they have a lot of power, but not really to open. So we're traveling back to the truck, to get the boat out of the lake and stuff. And so we're traveling. I'm in the front, like I said. He's in the back. And I kept looking at the gator. And I saw his feet, the front feet moving a little bit. But I didn't really pay too much mind. I'm thinking, maybe it's the movement of the boat, big gator. But then I saw the back legs started moving also, and I saw the tail move a little bit. Well, I immediately stood up in the boat. There was a front seat all the way at the front of the boat. I was standing on that part. And my brother-in-law let the gas off, and the motor's still running. And he was asking me what was the deal. And I said, the gator's still alive. And he said, man, look, the gator is not alive. I shot it. It was a good shot. He said, that's just nerves or something happening. He said, he's dead. So I said, okay. So I sat back down, which was in the middle seat, and the gator was between the middle seat and the driver's seat in the back. Not a minute later, the gator just stands up, picks all his weight up and stands up. And well, then my brother-in-law realized, okay, well, yes, he's alive. Well, I didn't know where to go. I was back at the front seat. And I wasn't going to jump in the water because there's full of gators in there. Now, his mouth was tied, but I was worried that he'd, come after me and knock me into the water. So my brother-in-law was like trying to reach for the gun. I said, what you doing? He said, we have to shoot the gator in the boat. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go, I was worried that he'd miss the spot underneath the head port. There's a bone where it would stop the slug. It wouldn't go through and through, but you have to make sure you get that spot. So I was getting kind of worried, and so he stands up and he takes another shot, and it was a good shot. I think his first shot was good. It just didn't kill the gator, but the second shot worked, and we just sat there for a while to get it. I was weak. I'll be honest with y'all. I was just so weak in the legs. I could barely stand up. And I was just there drinking a bottle of water, thinking, well, that was close, So we got all alligators. We're 22 gators, and I think it took us right at, 13 days, I think it was. I don't think we needed 14 days. And we made a few $1,000s on the skins, and we made well on the alligator meat, and it was just something that, like I said, I'll never forget it. Something I can tell my grandkids when they get older. But they're very easy to trap. Very, very simple way of doing it. Actually, it's easier than going and try to get a fish to bite on the hook. Because the gator he's coming up. Now, they only do it pretty much just at night. So you set all your lines in the daytime, and then that night they trapped, and then the next morning you get them. Well, I hope y'all enjoy this story here of something that happened many, many years ago here in Louisiana. If you have any questions, comments, just put them in the comment section. If you have a question that I didn't answer, that you want to know about, just ask, and I'm going to help you out by doing all I can to answer that question. Thanks for watching.